so good to see Frank Miele, the longtime editor of the Daily Interlake in Kalispell. Now he started his own Heartland Diary USA blog. And Frank, I know the longtime readers of the Daily Interlake were sad to see you go, but I got to be honest, selfishly, I'm glad you've got your own blog now, because what we used to get once a week before, now we're getting on an almost daily basis, sometimes 2 a days from your new blog. So it's great.
Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate your having me on. And it has been pretty liberating to be able to take all my energy and devote it to conservative commentary instead of having to marshal my resources and get one column out a week while I'm putting out a daily paper. So. And
now you're getting picked up by Rush Limbaugh, getting quoted by Rush Limbaugh. I got kind of a kick out of him not knowing how to pronounce your last name. He was like Miele. You
got it right once. That's all that matters.
Yeah, and then you had posted on your blog, you said, well, Miele is actually Italian for honey.
Exactly.
Which makes it really awkward now whenever I say your name, because I feel like I'm saying, well, Frank, honey, what would you like to say?
It works out well for my wife, though.
Yes, exactly. She's always speaking nicely to you. Yeah. I'm trying to think where we start with you. From the national news perspective, of course, the outrage industry is got the outrage mill going over President Trump's latest tweet. And they're saying, well, he's racist because he told Ilhan Omar and these others to go back where they came from, when that's not really what he said. What he actually said is, so here's Ilhan Omar, who has been trashing the very American soldiers who saved her in Somalia. And he's saying, hey, he says, why don't you go back there and improve the situation in those countries and then come back here and tell us how you did it? And it's just interesting to see the way that it's getting twisted.
It's one of those cases where, President Trump says things in a way that is provocative. And, when you first hear it, you're like, maybe he shouldn't have done that because it's going to anger and upset people. But then as you start thinking about it, you start to realize his logic. And if the progressives are right that immigration really doesn't mean anything, that coming in and out of a country is can't be based on some law, then wherever you came from originally is really where you're from still. You're not just a citizen of the United States, you're still a citizen of Somalia. You're still, part of that community, because borders don't mean anything. And so he's basically playing back against them, their own rhetoric, and he'll come out ahead again because the American people are smart enough to know that what we've got here is the best in the world, and we certainly welcome anybody who wants to help make it better, but we don't welcome people coming here to tear it down.
Well, and I think there's the other irony in this whole conversation is the fact that conservatives have been saying, hey, let's help people in their home countries. Let's fix the situation there instead of just import all of the world's problems into America. And what President Trump is basically saying is, hey, go help fix the country where you came from, because there are countless Americans that are contributing to Christian missionary organizations, charities, to help other people in other countries, and yet it seems like Ilhan Omar and the rest of them just want to import all of the world's problems into our country instead.
Absolutely, and it's the absolute impossibility of allowing open borders and allowing anybody who wants to come to our country to be here is, obviously that would overwhelm the system. And you have to think that the Democrats and the progressives are smart enough to know that, and that therefore by embracing that policy, they really do want to overwhelm the system and break it. And you've got to ask yourself, what do they want to replace it with? And that's where, Trump's 2020 campaign comes in, capitalism versus socialism. He's right on top of it.
You've also brought some books down. So for the folks who are tuning in on KJJR here in Kalispell right now, if you come down and say hi. We'll also have a microphone open for you if you want to jump on the microphone. But Frank, you've also brought some of your books down. What books did you bring down?
Okay, well, my book series is also called Heartland Diary USA, and I started out with 3 books in a Why We Needed Trump trilogy. And they're columns that I've written over the last 15 years. So the first book is during the Bush presidency. The second book is during the Obama presidency, and then the third book is during the Trump campaign in the first part of his presidency. And basically, what you see if you read through it is that all of the issues that I wrote about for the 15 years, President Trump answered the needs of the country. And the two things that I said when he was running, that all I needed him to do: one, fight Islamic fundamental terrorism, and two, do something about the immigration crisis. He took care of ISIS very handily, and so he gets an A+ for that.
I've been telling you about a lot of the great writing that he's been publishing on his blog, the Heartland Diary USA blog. As we've been, and Frank Miele, he just got quoted by Rush Limbaugh about a year and a half, or about a week and a half ago. He gets picked up frequently and regularly by RealClearPolitics.com. Great to see Frank Miele here in person. Frank, thanks again for joining us this morning on the show.
Thanks, Aaron.
Yeah, so you got some books down here for anybody tuning in on KJJR. If they want to come down, you'll autograph some books for them. They can get a chance to get that in person. I know we cover a lot of the national issues as we talked with you before, but you've also been kind of dabbling a little bit into the Montana politics heading into 2020 as well. Where do you see things heading into 2020?
I mean, it's going to be a mud fight. The decision by Gianforte to jump into the governor's race has thrown Republican politics into turmoil, and there's certainly a lot of discontent. Kalispell is solidly behind Dr. Al, and most conservatives are behind Dr. Al, and it was interesting to see a story over the weekend that about legislative endorsements in the gubernatorial race, and the so-called Solutions Caucus is solidly behind Tim Fox, and I call the Solutions Caucus the Surrender Caucus because it's basically Republicans giving Democrats everything they want. So that's not a good sign for Tim that he's getting that kind of support. He says he's got a lot of conservative support as well, but it seems like it's mostly going to Dr. Al. And Gianforte, everybody wanted him to stay where he was in the House. He had to fight hard to get in the House, and very likely that his previous opponent, Kathleen Williams, is going to have a very strong race going back in there again. And so that seat could be lost to Republicans for the first time in many years. So
yeah, that seems to be the real fear, is that Republicans could lose that U.S. House seat because everybody's wondering who will be the Republican candidate for Congress now that Gianforte is running for governor. In fact, I think I saw that Kathleen Williams just announced that she raised over $400,000, so she's able to tap into some of that national money in this race as well. Meanwhile, I don't know if you saw this piece from the Montana Free Press. Their headline was this: Montana Democrats to voters, I am you. We're not rich. To me, this is kind of like the Richard Nixon, I am not a crook. It's like if you have to keep telling people, I'm just like you, I'm you, I don't know. It seems a little phony to me.
Well, I mean, the Democrats have to, they have to go back to that strategy if they want to win elections. They have to be a party of the middle class. You can't be a party of the extreme progressive socialist movement and be elected. So they have to convince people that they're on their side.
Well, it was interesting. There was a piece at the dailysignal.com. They actually sent out one of their Heritage Foundation correspondents, and this is the headline on it. It says, I went to a socialism conference. Here are my 6 observations. And the tagline for the conference was, no borders, no bosses, no binaries. No binaries. So apparently it was all about no more gender, taking gender out of everything, which is interesting because the Montana Democratic Party also had their convention over the weekend. And, aside from Heidi Heitkamp telling them that, hey, you all should have raised your hands when I asked you if Donald Trump is likely to be reelected as president, she kind of gave that wake-up call to Montana Democrats over the weekend. Apparently the only other major change that they had was they're no longer going to have a committee man and a committee woman. So they've totally removed gender for everything. So they said that this was a victory for cisgender, transgender, and non-binary. I don't know. I mean, I don't even think I understand non-binary code right now. But Frank, what's your take on just how big this gender discussion has overtaken the political parties?
The ultimate question, I guess, is how far do the people on the left want to go dismantling everything that we know about life? The fact that we now have women defending their ability to win in their own sports because transgender women, which is men who have become women through science, are dominating women's athletics at the high school and other levels. And apparently for the the non-binary left, it's okay because anything goes. But it really ultimately means that women are being displaced. And if it happened in any other setting, there'd be an outcry on the left for the unfairness of it. But because it fits their rhetorical agenda, it's anything goes. The same thing happens with this rhetoric you hear about Marilyn Matt and Gianforte is going to be attacked for being from New Jersey. He's not a real Montanan. Meanwhile, we've got Mayor Wilmot Collins in Helena, who literally came here from another country, and they're all excited about him because he's going to bring a new voice to politics.
Yeah, and then their potential House candidate is a woman from San Francisco, California.
Exactly.
It doesn't make any sense, does it? Well, Frank Miele, check out his blog, Heartland Diary USA.